Hi everyone, my name is Carol Hepburn. If I haven't actually had an opportunity to meet you in person at Regent University, I'm hoping that maybe someday we will actually get to meet in person. But I wanted to do this video introduction for you. My rhetorical criticism paper is on a permanent exhibit that is at the Heard Museum in Phoenix, Arizona. I had gone out to the Heard Museum in September for my site visit to actually complete the prospectus project for COM 701, Historical Critical Research Methods. And I was so taken by this particular exhibit, which is unique in that it is it's of course it's a museum exhibit, but the way that it is staged. So the lighting, the photography, and all the visual elements are interestingly designed. It's a very moving experience. And in addition to that, I was very interested in the topic, which is Indian education. The Heard Museum in Phoenix is one of the finest Native American museums in the nation, has one of the largest collections of certain types of exhibits, but it is very well known for its southwestern Native American, I would say, cultural exhibits. And here in Arizona, because almost 6% of the population is of Native American descent, the Heard Museum plays a very vital role in promoting Indian cultural interest, promoting Indian artists, and so it's really a cultural slash living history museum. So I decided, with a little help from Dr. Graves, kind of pushing me forward, to focus on this particular experience, which chronicles the Indian boarding schools movement, and that took place from about 1870 up until the 1960s, when Indian education, the government let go of it, and it was taken over by the tribal nations to actually do their own education of their own people. But throughout our recent history, the Indian boarding schools movement was very significant across the country and up in Canada. So the Heard Museum has this wonderful permanent exhibit now. It was a traveling exhibit. It was designed initially, and it came here to the Heard, and it is so popular that it is now a permanent exhibit. So my paper is going to focus on sort of the visual rhetoric of this exhibit. But what I wanted to do, I knew that when I started writing my paper, for those peers that are going to be reading it, they would really have no idea what this exhibit actually looks like. So I decided I would videotape it, or at least give you some kind of visual so you can see what I'm seeing as I walk through it. The video itself, I apologize a little bit for the quality. I videotaped this on a very busy Saturday in Phoenix, the day that I picked to go out to the Heard. I had no clue that there was a sort of cultural event taking place on the grounds. There was a Spanish festival, so there were artisans and food and music, and it was a free event open to the community. In addition to that, the grounds were very busy, so there were a lot of individuals who were also coming through the museum. So I was trying to get one cohesive video done where I walk from beginning to end, and instead what ended up happening is I had to take sort of chunks, and hopefully as I put it all together, it's going to flow and it won't be too chopped up for you. And I do also apologize for the sound quality. I tried to get as much of the sound, because sound is a very important element in this exhibit, but I also annotated. And as I said, there were individuals in the experience at the same time that I was in the experience, and so it was kind of, I was having to be quiet at some times, and other times I was able to talk more freely. So all in all, this is just something I threw together, and I hope that at the minimum you will be able to get a better feel for what I actually see as I'm walking through the exhibit, and then as I analyze it for this paper. Perhaps it'll just give you a little more insight into the design elements and how this exhibit functions to really convey meaning and what it means to the individuals who go through it. So I pray that you're blessed and that you enjoy this. Thanks. Bye. All right, so I'm at the Heard Museum and just giving you a quick tour of what it looks like here at the Heard. I'm on the second floor of gallery. Here's a map. We'll go ahead and capture that in case we need to see any information. There's a map. And this is really where I'm at, the East Gallery. And this is a permanent exhibit here at the Heard Museum. I had visited this exhibit in September, and the goal was to actually visit the archives in the library as part of a site prospectus. It was a requirement for my historical critical research methods class with Dr. Graves at Regent University. And so now I'm actually visiting again for a second time. So this is inside the exhibit. I'm really not supposed to take any videography, so I'm just going to kind of give you a very brief tour of what the exhibit looks like so you can see. I'm going to be doing a visual analysis for my historical critical research methods rhetorical criticism paper that is for the same class. So I just wanted you to get an idea of what the exhibit itself looks like. So we're going to go this way. And of course it's a Saturday, so it is very, very busy here.
I remember being dragged out. I was carried downstairs and tied fast in a chair. I cried aloud, shaking my head all the while until I felt the scissors against my neck.
And as well as that grades here, I just decided to match the correct. It is one something similar.
The fact is that we were to be transformed, and short hair being the mark of gentility, the white man, he put upon us the mark.
Really? I can see now all the old Mojave women standing around him while you covered their long hair with your arms. But their hair.
This is actually what's called an experience exhibit, and it's part of the emphasis here at the Heard Museum on living history.
I remember being dragged out.
There are a lot of people
I was
here,
carried
so I don't know
downstairs
how much
and
video
tied
I'm
fast
actually
in
able
a
to
chair.
capture.
I cried aloud, shaking my head all the while until I felt the scissors against my neck.
It's very powerful.
And then some of us had grades here. I guess we decided it was too much to cut our hair. I just lined us up and cut our hair.
The fact is that we were to be transformed, and short hair being the mark of gentility with the white man, he put upon us the mark.
Capture a little bit more video, and then I am going to go ahead and sign off because there's more individuals here, and I don't want them to feel awkward about
I can
me.
still see my mother and my grandmother just crying their hearts out. I was 5 years old, but my grandpa was holding me. So when the train came, I got in.
That you can sit,
I
you
saw
can
the
watch.
tears coming out of that brave man.
What is unique about this exhibit is that the number of historical artifacts is actually very small compared to other types of museum exhibits. And there's a reason for it. This is primarily a visual and experiential exhibit. And the purpose is to influence your emotions story, personal stories of what Native Americans went through during the late 1800s into the 1900s. So it's mostly made of photography, sound, and writing. It's really fascinating exhibit, absolutely fascinating. And to do an analysis on it, just my background, I do visual analysis. I teach my students how to do visual analysis. So we analyze imagery a lot of times for composition. That's one of the assignments we do, a rhetorical analysis on an image. So this is something that I really enjoy doing. But I wanted to give you, my colleagues and peers, an opportunity to actually see what it is that I'm seeing. Let's see, type. This kind of brings us back to the beginning where we were. And you see, it's very fascinating the way the exhibit is actually set up. There are these different rooms. And the rooms, like I said, this is what makes this exhibit so interesting, is the way the photography is used. And from an advertising perspective, the way that the bold writing sets off key phrases on the images, the messaging is what is fascinating to study. And that's what I'm hoping I'll be able to do. I'm going to spend a little time this afternoon really observing, kind of capturing my reaction, and then actually looking closely at the images themselves to get a better idea of how the designers have used all these historical artifacts to tell the story of the Native American experience as they were taken from the reservation and they were sent all over the United States to these boarding schools where they were educated in the American way. And they were completely stripped of their culture and their identity. It's really, really fascinating.
We had to go through the whole business to make sure everybody was out and had gone to school. The thing I remember about checking rooms, when we go through rooms to get
This is one of my favorite rooms. It talks about the music, the choral. This is probably the saddest part of the exhibit here. And I'll show you this picture. It's just absolutely really touches your heart. And you will see all the children that died. And their names. It's really, really sad. Sports was a big part of the Indian boarding school experience for Native Americans as well. Here's one, just a little bit more on mortality. It was really sad. This is a great quote. Hopefully you'll be able to read it. It says, death was the only way you could get home. It had to be a sickness or death before they let you out of there very long. And that was from a student at Tulip Indian School in 1908. And you can see the cemetery. It's just really, really sad. Graduation. And it's fascinating. When I did my initial research on this topic, there really isn't an actual number. These are the boarding schools that they know about, but it's really unknown exactly how many, because it says that there's no comprehensive list of boarding schools. But look at all of them. Look how many there are that have been discovered. It's fascinating. And I think what's really, really interesting is that it's just a timeline of the history of education, U.S. Indian education. And this is really the end of the exhibit. There's a desk here, and they're not really doing this anymore, but they did. Actually, there are some papers in there. So the little sign, this is really fascinating. It says, oops, sorry, I'm trying not to get into it. If you would like to record an oral history about your boarding school days, please leave your name, address, phone number in this slot. We will contact you. My understanding is that Heard Museum here has thousands and thousands and thousands of little pieces of paper for individuals who came through this experience, who were part of the boarding schools movement, and they simply have not been able to do anything with all of that information. It's what's called unprocessed. So for a researcher like myself, there is no way that I can gain access to it. So it's kind of sad in a way, but perhaps someday when there's more funding, we will actually be able to go through those slips of paper and learn more about the individuals who want to share their story. So I'm going to finish off, and then I'm going to go through and actually sit down and begin my analysis of the exhibit. So hopefully this video will just give you a little highlight as to what the experience is all about, how it's staged. I think it was easier for me to kind of show you in video format, though I hopefully will be taking some photographs as well to include with my analysis. So that's it. Carol Hepburn signing off at the Heard Museum, November 8th, 2014.